80% of your lifestyle is healthy, you can accommodate a 20% indulgence, which may be your cream cakes, it may be a glass of wine, it may be whatever. It's unfortunately when you tip it over and you suddenly think you'll do 20% healthy and you expect a result, because the body doesn't work that way.
Hi, Low No Nation, and welcome to this week's conversation on the Low No Drinker podcast. Today, I'm talking to the lovely husband and wife team, Alli and Rob Noel, the family team behind MoodyBrew, which is a range of flavour-packed functional drinks, including Sunny, Smoke, Ginger, and my personal favourite, Velvet. MoodyBrew's drinks are crafted from a blend of plant extractions, harnessing natural antioxidants and adaptogens to help you enjoy your drink and your life to the best ability. Regular readers to the magazine will also recognise Alli's name as our newest contributor. She writes a regular column for Low No Drinker magazine, which has been dubbed Focus on Health. And in every issue, she shares research-backed articles on elements that impact drinkers, such as weight management, sleep, and the menopause. So I'm very excited to have them both on today and say hello, Alli. Hello, Rob. How are you guys doing?
Thanks, Denise. Hi.
We're well, thank you. Yeah, as we said, enjoying this lovely sunny weather, while it lasts.
Yes, this is a very strange weather. It was my daughter's birthday is on September the 1st. And so I know that at that time of year, it just changed and it was like a switch. It went to autumn. But now we seem to be having an extra summer. So
yeah,
who knows? Well, thank you for joining me. I'm glad you're in good spirits because I want to have a lovely chat with you about your amazing drinks. And those who are watching the video can see behind me, we have all 4 bottles on both sides. And I'd love to know the story that led you guys to creating these, because these are quite unique drinks. There's not a lot like what you're doing. And so it obviously wasn't just a case of, let's just make another beer, let's just make another wine. You've gone for something quite different. So start where you want to start. Alison, if I ask you to kick us off, what was the journey that led you guys to produce these wonderful drinks?
Well, I think overall it would be good to hear Rob's version because, to be honest, most of the inspiration came from him. So I won't sort of preempt what I know he'll probably talk about. I think for my own side, I think it's just that appreciation that although I felt I was living a healthy lifestyle and I was keeping myself fit, I had cancer back in 2018. And I think it was a little bit of a wake-up call of thinking, well, hang on a minute, what else can I do? Because I think one of the inspirations for us is that whole piece around we're living longer. And it's that whole piece about quality of life. And I think when you have a life-changing event like a cancer diagnosis or anything really, it's looking at, well, what can you do to bring that best quality of life and live your best life? And that just really came to the fore. So I think for myself, that was it. And I know that fed into the inspiration for Rob. He had some thoughts beforehand. And I think that was a bit of a wake-up call for us that way. So maybe I should hand over and Rob go into more.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, really, we started around 2019, not that long ago, really, and to just play around. I had been doing a lot of business travel over in China and India and Japan and Taiwan and places like that, and I'd really seen how they use plant materials, plant extracts in their drinks, and actually how the general population were perfectly aware of the health benefits of these types of extracts, and I really enjoyed the teas and the whole tea experience that you get in Asia, and so that really helped sort of formulate the initial ideas. And really what I wanted to do was to almost deconstruct beer and take out the calories and replace them with sort of beef up the natural plant good antioxidants and polyphenols that are there instead. and also on the process side, deconstructing the beer was around how to make it easier without fermentation. That's a sort of separate story, but that was the starting point. And then, of course, COVID hit, and we were lucky. And many were not, of course, but we felt quite lucky to be able to have our children got back just in time. And Jacob was let off work, as it were, and so he really ran with it, and really sort of developed processes and this sort of thing, really developed the product which needed to happen, and of course then scaled up and things like that. So little mishaps became big mishaps. And so, all of that happened in a way at the right time and enabled us to kick off these types of drinks. So thank you for saying that they're unique. That's nice to know. You know the area actually probably better than we do, and so it's good to hear that.
Yeah, they are. They're very different. As I said, I do have a favourite, and I know that when founders come on, I do try not to say that I have a favourite in the range. I wonder if it's like saying, about having a favourite child. But sometimes different things and different flavours appeal to different people, don't they? And so I like that you've come out with a range. So I'll get you to take us through the range a little bit. But first of all, obviously, Alison, I'd like to say I'm so glad that, you are on the other side of this now, and that you've used that horrible experience of getting a diagnosis like that into creating something wonderful with your family. It's so affirming to hear when people turn something quite devastating around to be such a positive thing for not only themselves, their family and the people they love, but then the other lives that you'll be touching by helping to make these drinks that can really help, as I say, people live a life less intoxicated.
Absolutely. Oh, sorry, on you go.
No, please go ahead.
I was just going to add there, and as I was touching on earlier, you've picked up we're all scientists in background, and so that's our default as to what information is out there, and it is looking at what you can do to add. By value, it's like nutritional value. It's looking at what are the ingredients, what are they doing? Because when you're having calories, there's been so many myths out there about weight and various other issues that we should be looking at what we're putting into our bodies and what it's doing. So this whole concept of treating ourselves takes on a new meaning when you've been through something like cancer. What helped me through was focusing on my diet, my nutrition and exercise. And I saw firsthand the benefit of what I was putting into my body in helping my recovery. And I don't take it for granted at all. And it's something I see as being a lifelong learning situation. I'm not going to think, right, I've sussed it, I've got it. But this is the type of passion and energy that we've put into the drink. So we've got the 4 different flavors, hopefully reaching out to different people. And I'm quite happy to confess Velvet's my favorite too.
You're absolutely right. And what we're putting into our bodies is such an impact. And it's something that we say we think about it, but I don't think that people really, really do. It was actually what led me down this path in the first place. In brief, my husband and I went vegan for 6 months because we realized that we wanted to sort of strip back and start again. We're no longer vegan because it's just really, really hard. But it allowed me to recognize what was going in, and we felt amazing. And then the only thing that I was still putting in that was making me feel rubbish was alcohol. And that's what led me down this path to realize that I would like to look at other types of drinks. What I love is what I'm really excited about is this new adaptogenic, nootropic way of looking at drinks, these functional drinks that people are really, really interested in now at the moment. And, you've got sort of plant extracts, you've got vitamins and minerals in them, but they're all under these umbrella terms of functional drinks. And I'm not sure that most people understand exactly what those elements can do for them. Would you be able just to take us through, within, MoodyBrew's range, what are the ingredients in there that are creating added benefits for people as they drink them, as well as tasting lovely?
Yeah, I mean, perhaps we'll illustrate it with, as you say, our children. Maybe this is
Okay.
We'll show you some of the bottles. So actually, it can be split into two, and this is tends to be what we say on market stalls when we head over to market stalls. So one of the drinks, let me see if I can show you that. We've opened these already. We're drinking them at the moment. But this is these two drinks. Well, that's it. These two drinks, Sunny and Smoke, are both based on teas. So Smoke is Sunny is a mixture of teas. So teas are great. Oh yes, that's Ali's on that one, and that's that's balanced against rose. There's also rose, a hint of rose taste at the end. There's a natural sweetness, but we do extend that sweetness with a little bit of sugar. They're about 13 calories, per bottle, so pretty low.
Great.
5-10 times lower than most other drinks, and we do extend it again, as I was saying, with stevia. That's our preferred. Then we add some stevia in again because it's pretty much a plant extract.
Oh, yeah.
And then the teas we use are rooibos and a bit of type of Earl Grey fruits in there as well. So Sunny is more the lighter drink, but still an adult drink. It's still something we're trying to do is to make adult drinks, and smoke is a really good example of that, because that's smoky, very smoky. I'm going to open that and have some and show you at the same time, maybe. But again, this is a balance of two teas. You'll see the type of color, at least. Really smells. I know you can't see this, but really smells smoky, and that's the first thing that people, when they try it, understand. It fills the room with smoke flavor. It's really balanced that way against a smoked tea and a rooibos, which is smoother. So it's not the smoked tea on its own, which can be quite grating in terms of tannins. The rooibos really balances it out. Balanced against with sweetness, slight carbonation, so it lifts the smell when you get it near to your nose, and then you get the smokiness at the end, and also a kick. So without replacing the alcohol, we've replaced it with some sort of chili pepper type of spice. So if you were a whiskey drinker, then you've got a kick associated with it. Health benefits are then all associated with the plant extracts, the teas, the rose petals, on those two drinks. Now, the other two drinks are based on other plant extracts. So ginger is just as it says in the tin or the bottle. Thanks. This is very punchy. Lots of ginger. As soon as we make it, we get rid of the oxygen. So that can degrade the sort of punch, but also the goodness of the, as I say, previously the polyphenols and antioxidants. So that's the reason why we make it the way we do. We have a little bit of citrus flavor, but actually it's really ginger root, fresh ginger root that's really made quickly. That's part of the sort of deconstructing the process and making it so that it's actually extracted and then processed very quickly. So it stays fresh. And when you taste it, I am going to taste this. I have this most afternoons to wake me up if I've been on the computer too long. You really smell the fresh ginger. Mm-hmm. You get the little bit of citrus to begin with. and then the rest of that ginger flavour and the punch really comes through.
Yeah.
And after the second sip, it's so warm in the mouth that it's exciting you, in waking you up a little bit. And so all the goodness there is within the ginger extract itself. And then the velvet. Well, do you want to mention the velvet yourself?
Yeah, well, the velvet, we've got a range of spices in there, and the elderberries that are involved. Now, we've actually developed an all year round version because that's our seasonal drink, because you only get elderberries so many. Oh, well done. You only have elderberries for so long. So we've just got a new batch made. And again, it's got orange, and just the combination. You do go on. I remember somebody describing it as like a velvet symphony. And I get that, because you do feel as if you've gone on a journey with the drink. And I think what inspired with that one is how we came about the ideas for some of the drinks was with velvet, for example. You probably would have held there was elderberry sort of elixirs that for centuries people brought together, and they would make these every year, and it was to fight off colds and flus and that type of, all the different viruses. And for a lot of the drinks, what they do is it's the vitamin content, yes, that just helps get all your neutrophil levels, all your blood working well to just fight any infection. But also what all the ingredients do, and I think this probably explains a little bit about the functionality, is when you think about our body, so our brains are 85% water. We need to keep hydrated. We have the tiniest amount of dehydration and our brains do not function as well. So we have cognitive issues, so many different issues. The same goes for our heart working. Our heart's got a lot of water, and our muscles too. So if we want our bodies to perform well, we've got to have hydration up there. So that is the primary focus of the functionality with the drinks that we have. A lot of the other ingredients, they help work with the body's natural processes to produce energy, just to work the muscles properly, to get all the organ functioning right, to help your skin function. We forget the skin is an organ. So it's making sure everything is working well, and the cell repair that is needed. So that's the whole point of like an antioxidant, is having that cell repair. We have natural damage. Our body is amazing at coping with stress and with damage, but we need to be able to help it. So that is the type of inspiration behind. And it's like I said earlier, it's that in many ways I like the attitude, you put nutrients in and you get so much more back, from having them. It just helps give that boost. And again, the other thing to say is just that whole health and well-being boost, because as much as if we are feeling healthier, it just gives us more of a boost for our mental health. The two work together. And they talk a lot about gut health, as being your second brain. So that's another sort of thinking there. Is there anything you want to add about that?
Just say that maybe that they are adult drinks is they've all got a kick to them in some way. Velvet has, I've just had some. It's got a really warming black pepper. I don't know if you got that as well, Denise. But they're sort of evening supping drinks where you can sip along of an evening. You're having something different that way. We would love to be able to get them into pubs so that people do have a choice, but we'll see where the journey takes us.
Yeah, that's interesting that you mentioned that, because in the pubs there's a lot of talk, isn't there, about draft beer at the moment, particularly now that Guinness has gone into the Devonshire in Soho in London, and so now I've seen in the last 2 weeks so many articles about draft alcohol-free draft beer in pubs. And then obviously there's a lot of talk about wine, because people have been trying to find replacements for their alcohol-free wines for a while. The talk about functional beverages is very much more in sort of terms of your supermarkets, what you might have at home or what you might pick up from specialist producers like the Alcohol-Free Drinks Company and Wise Bartender and such. You don't often go into pubs and see functional drinks options available unless they are listed as a alcohol-free beer with functional ingredients. Have you had any of these conversations with supermarkets yet? Have they been receptive, or do you think that there's an in, or are they just not ready to have that chat with you yet?
I think they're just there's, because of the big boys out there. It's really hard getting in there. We do have stockists who really believe in what we are trying to do. They share the same values. They like the drinks. So that is working sort of well for us. But yeah, trying to sort of get that next step for things like supermarkets. No, I think it's really, really hard. I mean, we're still pushing those doors and we won't give up, but I think it is hard. And I think it's a lot of the alcoholic brands going alcohol free. It seems to be then they're already in the supermarket. So the supermarkets just stock, their latest product. I mean, Guinness, the 0%, I've just heard nothing but good things about that. And that's a very hard one to try and compete against. I mean, we designed Velvet to be a replacement to a red wine, because we found, as Rob had said, about smoke being sort of like the whiskey alternative, because he did like whiskey but didn't like the hangover. But it's interesting trying to see those openings, those opportunities for us. But I think this is the problem when you're a small business. It's just trying to get those.
Yeah, and we're in no particular rush. We would like to make sure that the drinks are crafted well and processed well and managed. And processing is done efficiently and things. And then we'll see. We haven't had any conversations with supermarkets. I think it's a really good discussion about, where it's going to happen next and whether there is going to be more of these drinks in pubs. I think it has to, surely, but maybe it just takes some brave pub owners, maybe individual owners, to head off in that direction first.
Yeah, rather than the tied houses and the big chains, because obviously then you are fighting an almost losing battle trying to go up against the contracts that they'll have with the Heinekens and the Asahis and the Diageos, because regular listeners will know I've spoken about this before. It's almost impossible for independents like yourselves to get a foot in the door when you're competing against these mammoth contracts. So your only route is, you're right, Rob, to go via these independent houses, these free houses that are open to looking at different types of drinks and having one-on-one conversations. But that's a big task, right? I mean, for a small family-run operation to try and make your way around the independent pubs of the UK to go, look, taste my wares and put them on your shelves. That's got to be quite a mammoth undertaking to be considering.
Yeah. I mean, we've tried to sort of mitigate some of those risks in terms of costs of production by going a more sort of continuous route. And when you have a fermentation step, you've got to start talking about large volumes that are fermenting for a few days at a time. Therefore, to scale up, you've got to scale up very large volumes, and you've got to pay a lot of capital. Whereas our route is slightly different, and means that you don't have to have all of that burden of capital, and you can keep costs down. But at the end of the day, these drinks have got real ingredients in. And so they're never going to be, I mean, our tagline is not alcoholic, but not soft. And it's to refer to the fact that they're adult drinks, really, but also, that they're not soft drinks. But also it means that they're never going to be mass-produced soft drinks, because they've got real ingredients in them, really. So it's going to be a balance, and it's going to be a really interesting journey.
Absolutely, and I'm looking forward to watching as that journey progresses, because I think that this is such an interesting time for low and no, and I do want to ask you about, you know, sort of how you see these drinks fitting into that low and no space. But it's so exciting, isn't it? You know, that this is all brand new and it's all developing before us.
Yeah.
And brands like yourselves we're really creating the category day by day. You know, it's not like if you were making a traditional gin or a traditional beer. You know, you mentioned, Rob, deconstructing beer. You know, that those have got decades and centuries of processes behind them. But drinks like yours are, you know, sort of going, okay, right, let's start from scratch. How do we do this? And how do we make this special?
Yeah, and you know, the thing is when you're in a market store, what I love about it is that you're getting to talk. You really hear lots of great stories from people, and there's nothing more exciting than someone coming up to the stall, trying the drinks, and getting excited because, you know, they're going to go back that evening and they're going to go out with their friends and they're going to have something that they can drink, that they feel is something different, and they can talk about as well. And that, you know, it's quite a kick to do that, to understand that, you know, that really helps someone's journey. So it comes down to that at the end of the day. And yeah, access to getting those drinks and other low-no drinks is going to be important, just to make it easier that people can, like I mentioned in Asia, people are everyone's aware of the health properties of these things, and have done for generations. So hopefully that'll start now here.
Absolutely. So talk to me a little bit about the occasions where you see these drinks being enjoyed. So you mentioned that Velvet was created to be sort of a red wine alternative, and Smoke a whiskey alternative. And I wanted to say, I didn't want to interrupt you, of course, but that the smokiness in that, absolutely. I can't remember what the whiskey was now, but there was a very smoky whiskey, and it reminded me of that as soon as I poured it and smelt it. And then it's got that, as you say, that kick in the back of the mouth, at the top of the roof of the mouth. So I can absolutely see where that occasion replacement is coming into the piece for you there. So yeah, but talk to me about where you see these fitting in terms of people using them and enjoying them. Are they, as you said, to be replacements for those two drinks you mentioned, or others, or is it more of a just a social dinner party occasion? How do you see people really enjoying MoodyBrew, and what would you like to see them doing with it?
We've had a variety, and what's been lovely is hearing feedback from different people and how the drinks have been used. So just to go through them again, I mean, Sunny, because it's got that natural sweetness, it works really well with an afternoon tea. So a lot of occasions where maybe people would have thought about having maybe a glass of Prosecco alongside, having some Sunny, or replacing the tea, because of course that one is non-caffeinated. So if they're trying to avoid caffeine, that is perfect. It's also very good for sort of like light pasta dishes. And we've had feedback about sort of white meat dishes, that type of thing. We're vegetarian, so you know, we're having to rely on other people feeding back. But that's the type of thing. So if I was having Sunny, I would be having it with a sort of lunchtime meal. So a lot of them, they all go with meals, but they are standalone too. So what we find interesting, moving on to ginger, is we have had some athletes who have used Sunny and ginger for after their training. So before they shower and refuel, they use either of them just to get the hydration back, but just to give them that bit of energy so that they can finish off. So that's been an interesting one that we hadn't quite appreciated. Ginger, we find quite a lot of people enjoy it first thing in the morning to wake them up, because it is just so punchy, because there's the whole root ginger in there. And as you'll know, I mean, ginger's just been used for millennia, you know, in herbal medicines and this type of thing. You know, it's got so much that's in it. It's particularly good for digesting as well. So, you know, when you were asking earlier about, you know, going to something like a barbecue, if I was going to something where I knew that there might be a lot to try and digest, I would be going for something like ginger to accompany that. It's also particularly good with spicy foods, because how often do you go somewhere or you have an Indian takeaway and you're ready to enjoy your curry, and what do you drink with it?
Yeah.
You know, it's really hard. So that complements, and particularly if there's ginger already in the food, it seems to sort of bring it to life. Smoke, I think it tends to work best for after dinner. It really is that sort of supping drink. But again, that is brilliant for barbecues, particularly for like the modern gas barbecues where there is no smoky effect and people are
Okay.
missing that. So, you know, again, you know, it's been good having feedback there. But as a standalone, that tends to be a really popular one for occasions. So you know, it's quite interesting just hearing sort of the variety. And velvet, yes, it's been standalone, but we've at Christmas it tends to be incredibly popular for just boosting Christmas festivities, particularly for people that are looking to reduce. They're not wanting to avoid, but they're reducing, and they're on that journey of that sober curiosity. It's a useful one, because when you have a drink that's so bold, I mean, all of them are bold, but that one in particular, then you don't feel as if you're missing out. And because I think for a lot of people we speak to, that you try and encourage them to consider healthy habits. And that's quite often something that comes back. Oh, but I would be, you know, it's a comment that means that they feel they'll be missing out. Where, you know, the drinks hopefully allow people to feel as if, well, it's the joy of missing out. You know, it's the fun of doing something that is for yourself.
Absolutely, and I do love your example of a going for a curry. This is my favourite takeaway. I love a curry. Obviously my favorite, but it is a really good point. What do you drink with a curry when you're not drinking alcohol? Because, well, first and foremost, when you are drinking alcohol, normally if you have something like a red wine, the red wine you get from a curry house is not very good at the best of times. So then trying to find, and I wouldn't want a beer because that'd be too gassy and it's too filling. And then, so if you're not drinking alcohol, what do you have with it? You're then left with normally, you know, a Coke or just a standard sort of mixer. So it's nice, as you have put it, Robert, to have these adult drinks that you can have instead, so you still feel like you're part of it. But Ali, I wanted to touch on something that you just brought up there, which was about people who might not be necessarily cutting out alcohol, but might just be cutting back. Are you finding that these drinks are therefore being used as a tool for people who are looking for that more sober, curious and mindful drinking approach? Because a lot of founders I'm speaking to now, some are obviously sober themselves, and some have made these drinks because they don't drink and they don't want to drink, and they want to have a completely alcohol-free alternative for people who are sober. But a lot I'm speaking to are also of the mindset that these drinks aren't just for sober people, that they are for perhaps sober occasions. How are you positioning MoodyBrew?
Well, interesting. We decided to go for the zero alcohol. So we haven't gone for the sort of any approaches where there's any fermentation. And that was a decision Rob had made, because we wanted to ensure that anybody that was wanting to be sober for whatever reason, they knew they could trust the drinks, because there's a lot of products that say they're low, and actually there's still too much. It would tip them over the edge. So for a lot of people that are considering reducing, for some of them, it's just it can take time sort of building in healthy habits. It's not something that happens very, very quickly. And they've got to find out what works for them. And sometimes we've got such ingrained habits. I mean, when you think about everything that's been put out over the media, I mean, certainly as we were growing up, it was expected you would start drinking when you were a student. You know, that was what was meant to happen. And there was a lot of very unhealthy information out there. And then I think, unfortunately, we've had a lot of misinformation. So particularly because I'm involved in menopause coaching, very aware of ladies who feel, well, you know, wine's good for me. You know, it helps me. You know, I deserve it. That, all the different myths that are put out there, and it's all the alcohol industry really trying to propagate the, oh, drink some red wine. There's polyphenols in red wine. That's good for you. Well, yes, but with everything else that's in the red wine, it's not great. So I think it overall comes down to lots of people are thinking about the whole 80-20 concept. If 80% of your lifestyle is healthy, you can accommodate a 20% indulgence, which may be your cream cakes, it may be a glass of wine, it may be whatever. Your body can accommodate that. It's unfortunately when you tip it over and you suddenly think you'll do 20% healthy and you expect a result, because the body doesn't work that way. So I think as people begin to sort of really value themselves, respect themselves, and actually appreciate what goals they have in life, what they want to get out of life. So for a lot of people that we speak to, quite often they say things like, well, I'm not going to drink, say, on a Sunday night because my Mondays are too manic. I cannot wake up with a heavy head. So it's having alternatives that they can enjoy their Sunday night and not feel as if there's any missing out, but they've got that fresh head for the next day.
So I was just going to say, I certainly use it to space out alcoholic drinking. So over the weekend, I needed to cut down, so I will have an alcoholic drink and then move on to one of these or two of these, and maybe not have another alcoholic drink. So I certainly use it that way. If I do have a drink of a weekend, and that means that you end up just having one drink, sometimes two, but that's it, and it's easy to do, really useful.
And that's it. We just need to help provide people with these options so they can do that. There's a lot of talk at the moment about this zebra striping, the blending, the bookending, and all the different terms. And it's quite interesting seeing people come up with all the different terminology so they can label the act of moderating or tempering one's drinking. But actually, it's something that many people are just doing naturally now without giving it a name. And they are doing, as you've exemplified, Rob, going, right, I do really want a bit. That is my favorite whiskey. I would like to have that, but I don't want to have too much. So I'm going to have that, and then I'm going to have a MoodyBrew, or I'm going to have an alcohol-free wine, or whatever else it is. And I like, Alison, as well, your approach. It's one of the reasons why I was so excited to have you write in the magazine, because you are very leveled about it. You do also say in your articles, these are the facts. This is the scientific fact about what this drink may be doing, and these are the myths debunked. So here are some tips to manage that drinking cycle for you. And if you do want to have a drink, go ahead, but let's temper that with reducing the amount that you're going to have, or reducing the measure, or reducing the frequency. And it sends that message to people, which is something that I'm really passionate about, which is not about us sitting here saying, you're naughty for drinking alcohol, you've got to stop straight away. It's about saying, did you know that if you choose to drink less, there are options that you can have, so you don't have to feel left out?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Quite agree.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think most people have information that tells them how they should live their lives, but sometimes it's just having that little bit of an encouragement, because when you what's the phrase, you don't want to be giving broccoli to people when they really want the chocolate. You've got to sort of try and encourage that sort of thinking for themselves and what's better for them. So I do, I mean, the articles that I'm writing, I think I've got into a good format now, which is exactly that, giving the information, because some people might not have thought about things in certain ways. And certainly if I come across any myths, I'll put that in. I like to make sure everything is evidenced, as you know. And then I think it's also having that encouragement, because there's no point in shaming people. There's no point, as you say, wagging that finger saying, oh, naughty you. We're not anti-alcohol, but what we are is very pro-healthy life. We would really like to be part of a movement that helps people live their best lives. And, as I said earlier, we're living longer. You want that quality of life, and you are not going to get it if you don't look after your body.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let me take you back to MoodyBrew then, and tell me what is next. So we've mentioned, the amazing drinks, what you're hoping to achieve, and the message you're trying to get out there. So what's the next stage for the MoodyBrew family team?
Well, we're building up stockists. We are based in the northeast of England, so we're starting. Have been starting there for the last few months, and that's going well. And it's really good working with people who are thinking the same way as we've been chatting. It's really nice meeting them and working with them, and we just need to extend that to the rest of the UK and find stock. It's interesting that the stockists that we have are people who have got a lot of conversations going on in their local area, and I think are reflecting those. And that's probably the type of discussion that needs to happen. We've not got a massive advertising and marketing budget to be able to, I don't know, hit the London Underground with lots of adverts or Instagram or this sort of thing. So, we want to, and anyway, I think we really want to work with people who like the drinks themselves and can talk about them in a holistic way, complete way. So we're building up that, and that's our next step. We can't really see beyond that at the moment. But actually, this is stage one of of 3 stages that we've got planned in the back, with multiple sort of products coming through eventually. But let's see how stage 1 goes first.
Oh, exciting! That sounds interesting.
Yeah. But we need to work on it more. But yes, we are quite excited about the new ideas as well.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. I should definitely keep my eyes peeled then. So if people want to, well, let's do this in 2 parts then. So obviously we've got consumers that we want to get people trying these drinks for you and discovering for themselves, finding their own favorites. But then you're also, reaching out to stockists and suppliers and saying, you'd like to be part of their catalogue, their cachet of possible beverages to produce and to provide for people. So how do people get in touch with you? First of all, to buy it themselves and to try it, and then if there are any stockists or such listening that would like to work with you, where should we send people to find you?
Please come online. Please come to our website and contact us. And our email address is on there, and we respond very quickly, and we'd love to have conversations with people.
So if it comes through to customer services, it's basically one of us that will be answering it, and we'll get in touch straight away. So anybody's free to sort of contact us and try things. But I think ordering over the website is probably the best way.
And what's the web address?
www.moodybrew.co.uk.
Fantastic. And that's MoodyBrew is all one word, isn't it?
Word.
MoodyBrew.
Yeah.
Whether on the website or just written down in general, it's all one word.
So
people can go there, they can order, and then they can also drop you a message through the Contact Me page and get in touch and start a conversation.
Absolutely.
Yes. That'd be great.
Wonderful. I will make sure that's all in the show notes for everyone so they know where to go and find you. And then before I let you go, guys, it's time for my final question, which is my now infamous barbecue question. Infamous because I say it is, and I want everyone to think it is. And that is, we were talking before we pressed record and earlier on about this crazy weather. So we're recording on the 19th of September, and it is super sunny outside, and it's really warm. It's back up to about 20 degrees where I am in near Surrey. Yeah, it's very warm. So it's still barbecue weather. So let's imagine that the 2 of you are off to a barbecue at a friend's house, and you're bringing some low, no, or light alcohol drinks with you to enjoy. Obviously, top of the list is the entire wonderful MoodyBrew range,
Yes.
with a few extra velvets for Ali, because those are her favourite and mine too. But other than your own amazing brand, what other low, no and light drinks would you like to enjoy on an occasion like that?
You're probably more into them.
Well, you stole my thunder a little bit, Denise, by talking about the Guinness. I think it's great, the low alcohol Guinness, but also the ciders came out early on as being really good quality taste on the ciders, and some of the other beers have come out there too with various brands. But I would take my low alcohol Guinness, I'm afraid.
Okay. Yeah, my husband absolutely loves the alcohol-free Guinness.
Yeah.
And then my mum, she loves Guinness. So I'm of Jamaican heritage, and she makes something called Guinness Punch, which is with Guinness and Nestle's milk and a bit of nutriment. It's absolutely lovely.
Oh, nice.
And so we were talking to her about alcohol-free Guinness and saying she should try it. She is the only person that I have ever met who's like, no, don't like alcohol-free Guinness. You can taste the difference. My husband's, you can't taste any difference. It's exactly the same, but she's just difficult.
Yeah. Well, I think what's interesting as well is how much technology goes into, a drink like the no alcohol Guinness. It really does. And all of the technology around the bubbles and the nitrogen and this sort of thing that they've sort of kept the same has helped that transition, obviously. So it's, we think that they're all natural old age drinks, but they're not. They're high-tech drinks, those things.
Yeah, the Guinness have definitely got a lot of snazzy gadgets up their sleeves when it comes to producing their drink, and they've invested so much money of late. And I think they've recently tripled their production of Guinness Zero. And there's rumours that they've reported that they think that sales of Guinness Zero could soon match Guinness Full Strength.
Wow.
How true that is, I'm not entirely sure, but it's the most popular low no drink that I hear about. Funnily enough, I'm not a big fan, unless my mum makes it with the punch.
Okay, right.
And what about yourself, Ali? Do you have any low no or light favourites you'd be taking to the barbecue, or are you sticking with the Guinness?
Well, I'm quite boring actually, because I've never been a big beer drinker, and a lot of the low and no wines I struggle with. There's something that is in there that I react with. And so I've struggled to find something. So to be honest, when you said it, my reaction was, I quite like green tea if it's not a MoodyBrew. But yeah, certainly in the family, it's definitely the Zero Guinness that goes down well.
And you know what? That's perfectly okay, because it's horses for courses, as I often say. Not everybody is going to like everything. And whilst brands are trying to sort out their recipes and their productions, there's going to be a lot of changes, and you guys all know this far better than I. So it's just going to be a case of, this isn't a category that works particularly well for me. But perhaps you'll be investigating more functional drinks and find other things that you like in there. But in the meantime, a nice green tea, sitting down, feeling nice and cozy. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Lovely.
Good
Lovely.
to enjoy.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure getting to know more about yourselves, more about MoodyBrew, and the fantastic work that you guys are doing to create these adult, not soft drinks for people to enjoy when they are choosing to drink less for any reason, for any length of time. So thank you very much. I'm very excited for what's to come for you next.
Oh, thanks, Denise.
Thanks, Denise. Nice to chat to you.
Take care.